Devastating truth, abandoned elderly couple discovers inheritance that changes everything forever. In the quiet town of Maplewood, a revelation echoed like a thunderclap. Old Mrs. Hargrove tightly clutched a faded letter, her gnarled fingers trembling. "Henry," she rasped, summoning her husband, who sat in the old recliner, eyes glazed over with age and regret. The letter spoke of an inheritance, untold riches left behind by a distant relative no one had mentioned. Every word dripped with mystery, wrapping around Mrs. Hargrove's heart like a serpent ready to strike. Strange things had been happening just before this letter appeared. Local kids swore they heard whispers flowing from the ground near the abandoned estate of the relatives. Even the air felt heavier around it, almost like the house itself was alive, waiting to divulge its secrets. Henry had often shaken his head, muttering about ghost stories, but Mrs. Hargrove's curiosity burned deeper than the whispers. That evening, as shadows stretched and the wind howled outside, they decided to investigate. With each shuffle toward that long-forgotten house, their hearts raced faster. They walked under the crescent moon, its silvery glow illuminating their path, a stark contrast to the foreboding dark at the edges of the forest. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with dust and the scent of old pine. The floorboards creaked ominously underfoot, as if protesting their trespass. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the back room, a sound that shattered the stillness and sent ice-cold chills creeping down their spines. Wide-eyed, they exchanged nervous glances. "What was that?" Henry whispered, his voice barely a breath. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The couple hesitated, hands sweaty and hearts pounding. They made their way to the sound, each step a small battle against the fear clawing at their insides. As they rounded the corner, the sight before them made their breath hitch. An old chest lay overturned, its contents spilling out like the secrets it had guarded for decades. Gold coins glimmered amidst the dust, and in the center, a strange, ornate locket caught the moonlight. Trembling, Mrs. Hargrove reached out. "What is this?" she murmured. The locket seemed to pulse in her hand, but just as they began to comprehend the treasure right in front of them, a shadow flickered at the edge of their vision. Both turned sharply. The door creaked slowly shut behind them, and a whisper echoed in the silence, "Leave now." Was it their imagination? Or something deeper, something sinister, lurking just behind the unsuspecting walls of the old estate? As icy air wrapped around their necks, they felt it, the undeniable, gut-wrenching urge to flee, but also a burning curiosity that pulled them closer in. What had this inheritance led them into? What truth lay beyond the door that clicked shut? The silence enveloped them, thick and unsettling. Mrs. Hargrove's chest tightened as she glanced at Henry, who remained mesmerized by the coins scattered like stars on the wooden floor. "We need to go," she urged, her voice just above a whisper. But Henry was a statue, frozen in disbelief. "Look at all this money, Mary!" he exclaimed, his voice shaking with exhilaration. This is our way out of this old life." But the glimmer of riches felt tainted. The air felt colder, a hushed dread creeping into her thoughts. The whisper lingered in her mind, "Leave now." It reverberated like a bell tolling in a dark chapel. She pulled at her husband's sleeve. "Henry, we shouldn't be here. It doesn't feel right." As she spoke, a chilling breeze swept through the dim room, rustling the scraps of paper scattered across the chest. A faint glimpse of familiar handwriting caught her eye. Leaning closer, Mrs. Hargrove's heart dropped. The note, stained and yellowed, bore her late aunt's name. "Henry, it's Aunt Clara S." Henry's face twisted into confusion. "What does it say?" Ignoring his question, she skimmed the note. It warned of ominous consequences for those who sought the treasures of the house. This inheritance, it might be cursed, she stammered. He scoffed, a laugh bursting forth that felt out of place in the haunting atmosphere. Cursed? Come on, Mary, it's just an old house with a spooky reputation. This wealth could change everything for us. Just as those words escaped his lips, the lights flickered. The air charged with a crisp energy that made her skin prickle. The shadow from before loomed larger, transforming into a dark figure in the corner of the room. It was watching them. Henry. Mrs. Hargrove gasped, clutching the locket tighter. We have to go. Now. Stop. He turned toward the shadow, foreboding curiosity brewing in his voice. What do you want? The figure only intensified, a silent guardian to the secrets that lay buried. The walls seemed to breathe, exhaling a gust that pushed them both backward. The chest rocked precariously, coins spilling like tears on the floor. Can't you feel that? Mrs. Hargrove cried out, her instincts screaming for them to escape. This is not a treasure, it's a trap. But the pull of greed was strong. Henry edged closer, inching toward the figure which now extended a grotesque arm, as if summoning him deeper into the shadows. Every instinct in Mary told her to break away, to flee toward the door, but she felt rooted in fear and disbelief. Henry! She shouted, desperation coating her voice. We can't stay here. He was transfixed, his eyes sparkling with mania, drawn by the thrill of the unseen. Mary, wait! He said, pushing through her protests, reaching for the coins that glimmered against the gloom, then, without warning, the chest slammed shut with a thunderous clap, echoing throughout the eerie estate. The room stilled as if time had frozen. Mrs. Hargrove's heart raced, panic clawing at her throat. The shadow had vanished, but a disquieting energy hung heavy, thicker than the dust settling around them. She grabbed her husband's arm, pulling him back as he swayed. We need to leave, now. We've disturbed something. But even as they turned to flee, the door twisted slightly, binding them to the space. Shadows danced along the walls, laughing with a sinister glee. What had they awoken? What darkness lay beneath those coins? The latch clicked heavily, as if responding to their unease. Mary, what if we're meant to be here? Henry whispered, uncertainty worming into his voice. Suddenly, a rattle echoed from the locket clasped in her hand. It warmed against her palm, urging her to look within. As hope struggled against dread, she wondered, would the locket reveal salvation or plunge them deeper into the mystery? With growing urgency, they realized, some doors should never be opened. And not all treasures are worth the price. What awaited them inside that locket could change the course of their lives forever. But would they dare to unlock its secrets? Mrs. Hargrove could barely breathe. The world around them felt like it had turned inside out. The room began to pulse, its shadows elongating and retreating with every rapid heartbeat. Henry, please, she pleaded, her voice wavering. Can't you see what is happening? This isn't just an old inheritance, it's a warning. But Henry's eyes shone with feverish excitement. A warning or an opportunity? He countered, almost defiantly. His gaze locked onto the now closed chest. They hid this for a reason. There has to be more. We can't just walk away. Mary felt a lump in her throat. The locket pulsed subtly against her palm, a distant heartbeat mixing with their frayed emotions. Had Aunt Clara left them a way out or dragged them deeper into danger? She had to know, had to unlock whatever was brewing inside the trinket. Gathering her courage, she gripped the locket and opened it. A faint glow enveloped the interior, illuminating a photograph of Aunt Clara, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Yet as Mary stared into those eyes, a deeper shadow shifted behind, as if it had remained unnoticed until now, a shimmer of darkness that somehow felt alive. Mary, what is it? Henry asked, stepping closer despite her distant expression. I think there might be something more, she stammered, her heart pounding as the warmth of the locket spread through her fingers. Suddenly, the photograph slipped from her grasp, fluttering to the floor like a dove released into a storm. As it landed, an icy chill swept through the room, extinguishing the flickering lights and plunging them back into darkness. "Mary!" Henry shouted, panic threading his voice. "What is happening?" The shadows thickened, coiling around them, tightening like a noose. The whispers returned, undulating through the air, warning them of their folly. Leave now. With her nerves fraying, Mary dove for the photograph, but as her fingers curled around its edge, the floor groaned beneath them. The animated shadows clawed at her ankles, dragging her mind into a spiral of fear. Suddenly, the whispers broke into laughter, sharp, shrill, and mocking. Their hushed tones blended with the sound of clinking coins rolling across the floor, a chaotic cacophony echoing her husband's unchecked greed. In a frenzy of desperation, she yanked Henry's arm. "We have to go. This place, it doesn't want us here." Henry hesitated, eyes wide with uncertainty. "But the money, Mary. We could know," she cried. "You saw the figure. It wouldn't let us leave. The riches aren't worth our lives." As if mocking her, the room vibrated, and the chest shook violently. With one fierce tremor, it burst open again, spewing coins that gleamed menacingly in the dim light. They clattered and rolled, collecting in a mound at their feet like dark-hearted gifts. Just then, a shriek of wind ripped through the room, and framed paintings flew off the wall, shattering against the ground. The sound of cracking glass pierced their ears, each shard a reminder of how fragile their situation had become. Something in the locket pulsed stronger now, as if responding to the chaos around them. "Look!" Mary shouted, holding it up. "It's calling to us." Henry, torn between fear and desire, glanced between the locket and the gold scattered on the floor, realization dawning on him. "Mary, we might have no choice but to find out what this really means." The shadows surged forward, threatening to engulf them both. The air thickened with tragedy, a storm of emotion crashing against their senses. But deep down, beneath the terror, a flicker of hope ignited. Perhaps the locket held the key to their escape, or perhaps, just despair. Tears streamed down Mary's face as she shouted against the wind. "We need to make a choice, Henry. Now." As her voice pierced through the cacophony, the shadows faltered for an instant, leaving both silence and uncertainty in their wake. In that fleeting moment, they realized, the secret of the locket would not just decide their fate, it could unveil a horrifying truth about Aunt Clara they never expected, but could they truly face it and what lay ahead? The darkness throbbed with life, wrapping around Mary and Henry like a living shroud. Heart racing, Mary glanced at Henry, whose expression was caught somewhere between excitement and sheer terror. "Henry, we have to make a choice. We can't stand here." But the tumult of emotions was only mirrored by the chaos in the room. The gold coins glinted menacingly, a siren call to Henry's greed. "Just think about what we could do with this," he shouted, each word thick with longing. "Think about what it's doing to us." Mary responded fiercely, the weight of their predicament pressing heavily down on her. The locket pulsed in her hand as if it could sense their wavering resolve. Just then, its glow intensified, flickers of light spilling outward, illuminating a path through the shadows. "Maybe if we follow the light," Mary breathed, clenching the locket tighter. "Maybe it will lead us out." In desperation, she stepped forward, urging Henry with her. "Do you trust me?" He began, but the shadows hissed, their voices a chorus of warning. "Foolish mortals. You choose doom. It's just trying to scare us," Mary argued, pulling Henry along, her heart pounding loudly in her chest. They followed the glowing locket, each step deeper into the shadowed abyss. As they moved, the whispers transformed into a nauseating mix of shrieks and wails. The very air felt thick, choking them with dread. Mary's eyes widened. "Look!" she yelled, pointing down a narrow hallway only visible in the light of the locket. A doorway appeared at the end, its edges shimmering. "There!" Henry gasped, the desperation bleeding into determination. "If we can just reach it." But the floor trembled violently beneath them. The coins piled higher, rolling towards them as if beckoning them back, drawing them into their agony. I can't do this. I want to leave. Henry shouted, his voice breaking. Then come with me. Mary persisted, pulling on his arm. Don't let it control you. They ran. Shadows lashed out, reaching for them with claws made of night, but still, the locket lent them strength, its glow steadying their fraying courage. They burst through the doorway, falling together into a space woven tightly with the spirit of Aunt Clara. Dust swirled in the air, illuminated by the light. Old trinkets lined the walls, relics from a life lived long ago, but there was something else, another locket, dangling from a light fixture, shining relentlessly like a beacon. She pointed, panting, Henry, look at that. He followed her gaze, eyes wide. How many of these are there? He wondered aloud, curiosity overpowering fear. More than we can count, she whispered, heart racing at the thought. But just as she reached for that other locket, a low rumble echoed from behind them, the doorway pulsating with fury as tendrils of darkness snaked through the crack, clawing at the light. Mary, we need to leave. Henry shouted, urgency pushing his words. I can't leave without knowing. She cried, standing her ground. The shadows continued to stretch, a river of despair slinking towards them threateningly. As they stood frozen in place, the pulse of the locket clashed against the chaos. It thrummed in her palm, demanding her attention. What if this is our chance to uncover the truth about Aunt Clara? She mused aloud. But what truth? He asked, fear creeping into his voice as the shadows inched closer, whispering of secrets best left buried. Sometimes a mystery is better left unsolved. The two locked eyes, terror and determination warring on their faces. But what if the truth is our only way out? Mary countered fiercely, already moving toward the light as her heart raced anew. Each step felt heavy, as if the weight of their choice could shift the balance between salvation and doom. A great gust of wind surged through the room, the shadows swirling violently as if reacting to their decision. What would they unearth? And would it save them or consume them entirely? The light beckoned, but so did the growing darkness heated with wrath, and as the night threatened to swallow them whole, the final decision loomed overhead like a thundercloud ready to burst. What would they unravel before time ran out? The pulsating shadows encroached on Mary and Henry, the air thickening with dread. Just as Mary reached for the shimmering locket, a chilling whisper slithered through the darkness, echoing in her mind, choose wisely, your fate entwines here. With a sharp intake of breath, she hesitated, staring into the locket's radiant glow. Mary, we can't waste time. Henry's voice cracked, desperation crawling up his spine. The shadows behind them seemed to grow heavier, swirling with a hunger that gnawed at their sanity. I know. Mary snapped, forcing herself to focus. Just a moment, I need to understand what this all means. But Henry was already moving back, edging toward the room's exit, fear pulling at him like a magnet. What if this is a trap? It feels wrong, Mary. His words struck her like a slap. She felt the weight of the locket, a hidden power within it that urged her on, yet a sickening fear churned in her stomach. What had Aunt Clara kept hidden for so long? But as the shadows squirmed closer, their whispers coiling around her thoughts, the truth felt like poison on her tongue. I can't rush this. It could be our only chance to break free. She yelled over the cacophony of despair. And without further thought, she grabbed the second locket, wrapping her fingers around the cool metal. Suddenly, the world shifted. Light erupted from the locket, spiraling into a tornado of brightness that forced back the encroaching darkness. She could see fleeting images swirling inside, flashes of her aunt's life, moments captured in time. Mary! Henry shouted, shielding his eyes from the blaze. What are you doing? I need to see. She felt intoxicated by the power within, visions racing by, a childhood moment of laughter, an encounter cloaked in tears, a pact sealed with silence. But one image pierced through the rest, an old man, haggard and lost, cradling a child in his arms amidst a shadowy room. The resemblance was there. Her heart lodged painfully in her throat. "Mary, pull back. It's too much." Henry cried, panicking as the shadows shrieked in fury, retaliating against the light. Tendrils lashed at him, barely missing, as they twisted and turned like serpents frustrated by the disruption. "I can't let go," she screamed, tears streaming down her face, overwhelmed by the swirling memories. Aunt Clara, she needed someone to know. "This is bigger than us." The walls shuddered, and the light from the locket flickered ominously. For the first time, Mary glimpsed the truth behind her aunt's life, a legacy bound by chains of guilt and secrets, yet flickering with a flicker of hope. But it was gnarled and dark, a tangled web. "Remember, you can't bargain with shadows," echoed a voice, colder than death. The shadows surged forth, breaking through the barrier as if sensing her vulnerability. "I want to let this end badly," she cried, swiping frantically at each flicker of darkness. But they closed in, clawing at the light, whispering. They were right, every revelation had a price. "Mary!" Henry's voice echoed through the turmoil. He was slipping away, caught in the tidal waves of darkness in that moment, understanding washed over her like a tide. The truth of Aunt Clara was their ticket out, but it also held power they were yet to comprehend. Tugging harder on the locket, she summoned every ounce of strength, feeling the warmth pulse through her veins like a lifeline. "Together," she gasped. "We can do this together." As the shadows lunged, threatening to drag them into the abyss, a fierce light flared in the room, resonating with the locket in her grasp. What else would they uncover in the face of such darkness? And would it save them or seal their fate forever? Time was running out, and the answers lurked just beyond their reach. The light exploded around them, a brilliant flare that pierced the engulfing shadows, momentarily halting their advance. Mary felt every pulse of energy from the locket coursing through her. It was as if she were reclaiming a piece of her aunt that had long been lost. The shadows writhed, clawing at the illumination, desperate to swallow it whole. "Mary! We have to go." Henry's voice trembled. He was almost engulfed by the black tendrils creeping up his legs, his panic shining through like a beacon. Fear surged in Mary, nearly drowning her in its tide. But she wouldn't let it win. Not now. Not after she had glimpsed the truth. "No. We're not leaving yet." She bit back the tremor in her words, with renewed determination, she concentrated harder on the explosive light. Inside the locket, images sparked and twisted in sync with her heartbeat. That frail old man again, hugging the child. This time, the child's face was clearer. It was her, a younger version of herself, laughing, running through a sunlit garden. A garden filled with flowers, blooming amidst the fading autumn leaves, held tight in her aunt's hands. The shadows screeched, redoubling their efforts. "Break the memory, break the ties." They hissed, their voices slithering into her ears. "You don't need to remember, you need to survive. I want to be silenced." Mary shouted back, her voice wavering but firm. "Mary!" Henry's cry punctured her resolve like a needle. He was fading, half buried in darkness, despair swimming in his eyes. Her heart twisted painfully in her chest. If she didn't act now, they might never escape. "I can't let this end like this," she gasped. "I want to." With every ounce of strength, she squeezed the locket tighter. The light surged brighter, momentarily dazzling her, and every image from her aunt's life crashed around her like waves of some long-forgotten ocean. Then, the old man's face shifted. It wasn't just her aunt's gentle gaze anymore, but something darker, more desperate. His lips moved, forming words. "You must set him free, Mary, he is the key." His voice resonated within the swirling chaos, pulling her closer to understanding. Who is he? Panic took hold of her. Her thoughts spiraled. What was happening? Who was this man? Was it someone she should know? But the shadows pressed in, angered by her defiance. One of the tendrils lashed out and caught her arm, burning like ice. She gasped, feeling the phantom pain bite deep. "They're lying." The shadows howled, attempting to suffocate her will. "Let go." "No." She shouted again, her voice rising in defiance against the darkness that sought to claim her. "Mary, please." Henry shouted, struggling against the binding shadows. "We have to go now. Help me." She wailed, feeling the crushing weight of the truth pressing in on her heart. She couldn't breathe. The air thickened as they screamed in unison, the shadows growing more furious, trying to distract her from her purpose. But through the chaos, one thought crystallized above everything else: the truth had power, and she needed to unleash it. Clenching the locket, she focused on the radiant light, amplifying it with what little strength remained. "You will not take us," she thundered, her voice booming. The shadows recoiled, momentarily slowed by the force of her conviction. But at what cost? The shadows hissed in a chorus of discordant tones, melding into the looming walls like a dark tide. "The secrets you uncover will pay in blood." Suddenly, the light brightened, pulsating with new energy. Mary could see now what lay before her was not just an escape but also a path to uncover the truth behind her family's darkest secrets. "Mary! I'm with you!" Henry yelled, his voice tethering her. As the light surged one last time, illuminating the entire room, she wondered, would that light consume the shadows or change them forever? In chasing the truth, would they find salvation or surrender to the chaos surrounding them? Behind the wall of light, a silhouette emerged, trembling yet hopeful. "Mary, you must choose." Would she summon the courage to confront what lay ahead, both for herself and the truth? The silhouette drew closer, emerging from the radiance like a ghost stepping out of the ether. It took shape, and Mary's breath caught in her throat. The figure was familiar yet haunting, a replica of the old man she had seen, eyes filled with unspoken wisdom and vibrant sorrow. "Do you recognize him?" the figure implored, the familiar warmth in his voice contrasting sharply with the biting cold of the shadows that swirled around them. I think so," Mary stammered, her heart racing. "But who are you? Who are you to me?" "Time is short," he urged, urgency lacing his tone. "You must confront the truth if you are to save Henry and yourself. He is bound to a destiny forged in darkness, and only you can set him free." The shadows lurked, waiting, pressing against the barrier of light, slick with malice. They coiled like snakes around Henry's legs, threatening to drag him under. The fear in his eyes sent a ripple of dread through her core. "What destiny?" Her voice quavered, uncertainty battling her resolve. "What do I need to do?" As the old man stepped forward, the energy from the locket pulsed more vigorously, igniting fragments of memory. She could see her childhood home, hear laughter echoing in sun-soaked rooms. Yet with every bright scene that flickered through her mind, there lay an undercurrent of loss. A nagging realization dawned on her: those bright days were punctuated by a shadow that loomed larger with each passing moment. "It's not just about your memories, Mary," the old man pressed. "It's about the unseen chains binding you to his past." Henry, she glanced back, feeling the weight of her choice. "What chains?" "His past holds secrets you cannot begin to imagine," he replied, sorrow emanating from his eyes. "Untwist them, break the bond, or you will remain trapped in this darkness forever." Mary felt the shadows tighten, claws digging deeper into Henry's flesh, drawing tears of frustration from her eyes. Henry's gaze met hers, determination matching the anxiety creeping into her heart. "Whatever you decide, Mary, I'll follow you. Just don't let go." The room pulsed with energy, responding to her turmoil. The locket grew warmer, an inviting flicker of hope amidst despair, but lurking shadows threatened to smother it. She couldn't comprehend the weight of the choice she faced. Could she really save him? Was she strong enough to unravel those secrets that entwined them? "Tell me what to do," she cried, desperation clawing at her words. "Follow the light within you." The old man beckoned. Let it guide you to the truth you fear most. Only by confronting it can you release him. The shadows hissed, losing patience, screeching out a cacophony of anger. You will regret this, Mary. They roared. Truth is a double-edged sword. Filling her lungs with the warmth of resolve, Mary felt the flicker of the locket surge a promise thrumming in her bones. She could feel it, the pulse of truth vibrating through her along with the echo of generations before her. Henry. With lightning speed, Mary reached for her friend, pulling him closer as she stepped toward the blinding light. This is it. No matter what happens, we'll face it together. Just as they crossed into the light's embrace, the shadows lunged violently, howling in rage. Reality twisted, and images blinked in and out of existence, a family torn apart, laughter silenced by betrayals, and one name standing out among the chaos, a name buried in her mind but now screaming to be heard. Who are you, really? The question sliced through the chaos, a thin thread of courage woven over the dark waves engulfing them, and then, just before the light swallowed them whole, Mary felt her world shift, the truth she had wanted to uncover teetering on the brink of revelation. As they plunged deeper into the blinding radiance, a whisper curled in the corners of her mind just as a chilling laugh echoed behind them. Nothing is as it seems. What awaited them on the other side? Would light lead them to freedom or plunge them deeper into darkness? The brightness enveloped Mary and Henry, wrapping around them like an unseen embrace. They felt the coldness of the shadows recede, the claws that had clawed at Henry fading. But the relief was short-lived. Mary felt a sharp pull, an unseen force tugging her through an endless tunnel of light. Everything swirled, colors blending into one another, shapes flickering just beyond reach. It felt as if time stretched and compressed at once. Panic bubbled up within her. What is happening? She shouted, her voice lost in the stream of radiance. Then, without warning, they landed on solid ground, feet hitting cold stone. The blinding light dimmed, revealing a chamber lined with strange tapestries that shimmered in hues of gold and crimson. The air was thick with a musty scent, like forgotten memories and desolate dreams. Henry stumbled beside her, his wide eyes darting around. Where are we? He breathed, a tremor of fear threading through his voice. Mary didn't have the answer. Mary came the old man's voice, now echoing around them like a ripple in water. They turned to see him standing at the spot where they had entered, his eyes still swimming with that same sorrow. He pointed toward an archway at the far end of the room. The truth lies there. Remember, you must confront what you find. What if it's too much? Henry asked, clutching Mary's hand tighter. She could feel the tension in his grip, the heat of his fear blending with her own. Whatever lies ahead, we face together, she replied, trying to infuse their fear with determination. But deep down, doubt nibbled at her resolve. What was waiting for them? With hesitant steps, they approached the archway. As they drew closer, her heart raced. A faint whisper seeped through the cracks, a melody intertwined with distant sobs and echoing memories. It felt familiar yet foreign, like a forgotten lullaby from a distant childhood. The archway shimmered, warmth radiated from it, calling her closer. We're almost there, she whispered to Henry. They reached hand in hand, the touch the only thing tethering them to one another as they stepped through the threshold. On the other side was a long, narrow hallway filled with mirrors, each reflecting fragments of their past. Mary gasped as a collision of memories washed over her like waves crashing on the shore. She saw her younger self running through the fields, laughter ringing in the air. In another mirror, the immense grief of her family at a funeral flashed before her eyes. A shrill screech erupted, glass shattered, the mirrors cracking under the weight of their emotions. Shadows lurked in the shattered reflections, reaching out as if trying to pull her in. Desperation clawed at Mary. We have to keep moving. Henry mirrored her urgency, dragging her forward. Don't look back. But the beauty and sorrow displayed in the shards jolted her into hesitation. Then, in the chaos, she caught a glint, a mirror unlike the others, almost calling to her. It didn't reflect her visage but instead shimmered with something darker, deeper. It felt like a portal, an invitation to confront something buried deep beneath her soul. "No. Mary!" Henry shouted, recognizing her intent. "Don't!" But the pull was irresistible. Images flared brightly in the dark depths, truth mixed with betrayal, faces she knew and those she didn't. One name rose above the rest. Thomas. Fire ignited in her chest at the thought, memories crashing against her like stormy waves. Her heart raced. Was this the truth she'd come for? Would facing Thomas unravel everything? The shadows hissed, a cacophony of warnings swirling around her. Choose wisely. Some truths shatter bonds forever. Mary turned to Henry, uncertainty flooding her senses. What if? But he silenced her with a firm gaze. You can do this. We can handle it together. With that, she stepped forward, reaching for the mirror. The moment her fingers brushed against its cold surface, the world around them blinked. Truth awaited, dark and heavy. But would it bring freedom or drag them deeper into despair? As the mirror cracked further, a scream echoed through the hall, and everything faded to black. Did they have the strength to face what lay ahead? What would they uncover as shadows twisted around them, hungry for the light? The darkness swallowed them whole. In that suffocating silence, Mary felt herself drift, suspended in a void where time had no meaning. The echoes of her own heartbeat rang loudly in her ears, drowning out the distant whispers that had once surrounded them. When the sensation of solidity returned, it was abrupt and jarring. Mary gasped, collapsing into a cold, gritty surface. She blinked against the darkness, trying to orient herself. "Henry!" she rasped, her voice shaky. "Over here!" he called, the urgency in his tone pulling her through the shadowed expanse. She scrambled to him, the feeling of his warmth sparking a flicker of courage within her. Just ahead, a faint glow pulsed like a heartbeat. "What is that?" Mary whispered, a thrill of dread racing up her spine. "Let us find out," Henry replied, his voice stronger now, bolstered by their proximity. As they moved closer, the glow brightened, revealing a chamber filled with towering pillars etched with symbols that twisted her understanding of reality. The walls seemed alive, pulsating with energy and secrets. Faces flickered in and out of existence in the light their own, reflected and contorted, filled with fear, anger, sadness. "I don't like this place," Mary breathed, her heart pounding in a rhythmic anxiety. Without warning, a deep rumble vibrated through the ground. A chilling voice echoed from the very walls. "You seek the truth, but truth carries weight. Are you prepared to bear it?" Mary's breath caught in her throat. She felt a cold sweat trickle down her spine as shadows danced around her, their fingers brushing against her skin, a haunting reminder that they were far from alone. Who are you?" Henry's voice wavered slightly, edged with defiance. "I am the keeper of what was lost," the voice replied, carrying an ancient authority that seemed to wrap around them. "To claim your truth, answer me this: what will you sacrifice for wisdom?" Henry looked at Mary, his eyes wide with uncertainty. "What do we do?" She swallowed hard. "We can't go back. We face this together." "Together," he echoed, his grip tightening around her hand. "Then step forward," commanded the voice. The air thickened around them, bathed in an unsettling glow, penning them into a choice. Mary hesitated, the weight of the decision pressing down like a physical force. What could she lose? The memories of her childhood, the safety of her flawed family, maybe even their fragile hope. "I'll give anything," she declared, her heart racing with equal parts fear and determination. The walls trembled, shadows converging in a whirling vortex. A blinding flash erupted, forcing Mary and Henry to close their eyes. When she opened them again, they stood atop a precipice, looking down at a swirling chasm that bubbled with a sinister light. "Look!" Henry gasped, pointing into the depths. Shadows surged beneath the surface, faces, cries, all tangled in a chaotic stream of memory and loss. "I don't want to see this," Mary shouted. "It hurts." The memories of her past slipped in and out of grasp, weaving torturous tales of regret and sorrow. Then turn away. Henry urged, but something held them both fast, an insatiable curiosity and fear of the unknown. Something surged within her, a power unlike anything she had felt before. "We can change what happened," she shouted, her voice gaining confidence. "We can find a way to fix it." But as those words escaped her lips, the shadows lunged upward, claws reaching for them, dark and palpable. "You cannot rewrite the past," they howled, an angry tempest threatening to engulf them. "Mary!" Henry yelled, desperation flooding his voice. "I have to try," she screamed, fear clawing at her throat. In that moment, with shadows writhing around her, she felt a strange connection to that glimmering mirror. They were tied together, the past and present intertwined, the darkness pressed in, a deep laughter reverberating through the abyss as she grasped Henry's hand tighter. Then, with a deafening crack, the ground beneath them began to splinter, and the cliff's edge crumbled away. Would they be swallowed by the shadows, or could they harness the truth that lay buried deep within? As they plunged into the swirling chaos, time seemed to freeze, and in that moment, the truth whispered, waiting to be claimed. What destiny awaited as they plunged deeper into the abyss, and would they ever surface again? The shadows roared around Mary and Henry as they spiraled deeper into the darkness. Time unraveled, their sense of self blurring with each heartbeat echoing loud in the silence. But in that chaotic descent, a flicker of hope surged in Mary's heart. The truth, could it deliver them, or would it be their doom? Just when feeling swallowed whole, a shimmer broke the gloom. It expanded, swirling faster, revealing the images of their lives flashed before them, treasured moments laced with heart-wrenching loss. Yet there he was again, the old man, now flickering like a candle fighting against the wind. "Mary! You must choose," he urged, his voice piercing through the whirlwind. "Use your anguish to illuminate the path. Choose." Paralyzed in fear, Mary glanced over to Henry, whose face was locked in terror. "What does that mean?" But each roaring shadow echoed the answer. The past held the key to their liberation and yet chained them to despair. "Don't let it pull you back, Mary," Henry shouted, straining against the weight of shadows clawing at him, desperate to reclaim what was lost. "We can't let it take us down. I want tea," she screamed, the flicker of resolve sparking a fire deep in her core. Gripping Henry's hand tighter, Mary closed her eyes against the maelstrom of memories. "We have the power to change this. We can rewrite our perspectives." The darkness around them hissed, recoiling at her defiance, festering questions swirling through its void, promising loss in every wail. But as the shadow tides pressed forth, Mary envisioned the shimmering light, her childhood garden, vibrant laughter, and Aunt Clara's eyes filled with love. "Aunt Clara, I need your strength." The luminosity pulsed again, creating a thread of connection that challenged the dark surge. "Remember, the past only defines us if we allow it," she encouraged, searching within for the binds holding them prisoner. "We are made of choices, and this moment is ours." An exhilarating warmth flowed from the connection, crashing like waves against the encroaching shadows. "Together!" she shouted, blazing the final realization. A blinding light erupted from within, forcing the shadows back, collapsing under the relentless illumination. The laughter of ghosts faded, replaced by clarity. Her choices would guide them forward. Instead of fleeing, they would confront. Instead of mourning, they would liberate. Each memory no longer weighed like chains but sparkled with potential. "Mary!" Henry shouted, eyes wide as they glistened with newfound determination. "We can do this." They stood hand in hand, radiating warmth that diverted the shadows further away. The power they wielded echoed in concentric rings, unraveling the dark tapestry that held them captive. Slowly, the fears that had haunted them turned to ethereal wisps, dissipating into the air, replaced with ripples of hope. "Let us face the truth," Mary called, stepping into the heart of the light as it pulsed around them, illuminating the shadows until clarity enveloped them entirely. As the brightness encased them, they glimpsed the true essence of Aunt Clara, a soul burdened, yes, but one that had navigated darkness and emerged stronger. What will you sacrifice for wisdom? The keeper echoed from the ethereal nimbus, and therein lay the answer. Our fear. Mary declared, holding tightly to Henry as tears streamed down her face, a bittersweet liberation unfurling within. We sacrifice our fear. The chamber quaked, shadows cascading down beneath the weight of their collective declaration. No. The echoes of darkness shrieked, swirling frantically as if trying to reclaim the lost parts of their soul. Their cries turned to wails, drowned by the radiance emanating from Mary and Henry. As the light intensified, the darkness began to unravel, revealing a clear path, one that would guide them forward. They stepped through the chasm, propelled by an unknown force, until finally, they stumbled out onto solid ground, freed from the shadows that had haunted them for so long. They emerged in the familiar garden of Aunt Clara, vibrant colors erupting around them. Sunlight sparkling like golden coins. The shadows vanished into the earth, leaving behind only echoes of memories that had tested their resolve. Did we? Henry breathed, glancing around the garden that felt untouched yet heavy with promise. Yes, Mary whispered with trembling lips, as relief washed over them. We chose to embrace the light. We conquered our fears. Together, they turned toward the house, now gleaming with potential rather than dread. The past had shaped them, but it no longer held them captive. They breathed in deeply, the air rich with possibility. Let us rebuild, Henry smiled, hope brightening his features, not just for us, but for Aunt Clara. As they clasped hands, they understood one crucial truth: life was not about the treasures waiting to be unearthed but the strength found in facing the darkness together, rising anew to embrace the light ahead. In Maplewood, life continued, and as the days turned into years, whispers of an ancient estate became mere echoes of a powerful inheritance, a testament to resilience, love, and the choice to always step into the light. Now, before you leave, here's something you need to do. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will grip your heart and mind. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm, it really helps. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. I want to hear from you. So, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show your support.